I want to talk about, you said like, obviously you've got your normal job, you said healthcare advertising, yeah? Like, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a very, very interesting job. Just the title, healthcare advertising. Like, obviously for the people that are watching, even me to be fair, like, like, could we talk a little bit about your job and obviously what you do, how long you've been doing it for, and obviously, yeah, how you got into it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always been into science from a young age. When I was at Manchester, I studied pharmacology, and as part of my degree, I sort of in my last year, I was like working in labs on campus,
Yeah.
and yeah, for me, I knew after that I didn't want to be working in a lab. I knew that I wasn't going to be a doctor, or go into further research in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I took a little brief detour. I tried accountancy for a little bit when I came back to London because my dad has an accountancy practice in Hammersmith. I was doing the ACCA for a little while, and then I kind of got talking to some recruiters and some sort of family friends, and they were like, "Oh, why doesn't Joe like think about medical communications?" And from that, those kind of early sort of conversations, I ended up working in a couple of medical education agencies. Did that for about 2 years, and then like after that, I wanted to try other areas within the medical communication spectrum. So I moved from medical education into healthcare advertising, and I haven't really looked back since. Been doing that now probably for like 7 years, and yeah, basically I love it because it's like all about communicating very technical, highly complex science in a way that like healthcare professionals and people who are suffering from various diseases can understand. And ultimately, it's about trying to make sure that doctors and patients are having the right conversations, and that patient is being prescribed the best drug for the disease that they have at that time.
Yeah.
And for me, it's great because I always feel like I wake up every day, I'm very motivated because everything that I'm doing is trying to lead to better patient outcomes ultimately. And yeah, for me, I just love the creative process, like the turning of ideas into something tangible, and that ultimately benefits the business. It benefits the client because they have better assets at their disposal, to basically communicate the brands and drugs and medical devices that they have within their various portfolios. And yeah, like over the years, I'd say I've mainly worked in like rare diseases and oncology brands. And then like right now, I'm working on a menopause drug that's launching in October in the UK. So yeah, just like working with the global medical and commercial teams and supporting them in however we can. But yeah, it's pretty intense. It's not an easy job. My role within the business is in account management and client services. So like I'm an account director. And yeah, it's just working with the team and working with the client and trying to solve problems for them really.
Yeah.
And using the creative resources we have within the agency. So yeah, I love it. And I don't see myself moving out of it. And yeah.
I think like these conversations are very important because I'm not gonna lie to you, Joe. Like I'm the type of person, like I'm sure you've heard so many people say, you know, I'm sure you've heard people try to compare like, man-made medication versus natural medication, that kind of conversation. And I feel like when I speak to people like you, who work, obviously who work in similar, like in a similar department, where it's like I feel like like I said, these conversations are important because sometimes people like me, even for me to be fair with you, because you've got people on social media giving people like me information saying, man-made medication is bad, da, 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 da. You should stick to natural and whatever. And people like me, for years and years, I buy into that. I don't want to take pills, all of these things. Like I keep on saying, that's why these conversations are important. Like for people like me, just like in general, because like I said, obviously you do similar work, and obviously like you said, you create medication for different people that are recovering from different, like type of illnesses. Like, what would you say to educate someone like me who's a little bit naive or who got put off of, so-called man-made medication or whatnot, versus natural medication? Like, what would you say to someone like me? Like, because some people might listen to this conversation and again and think, oh nah man, I do natural man, forget all of that, creating this and a medication for this and that. You get me? Like, what
Yeah.
would you say for them kind of people in terms of just educating them or opening their eyes to, just something new? You get me? Like, what would you say to them kind of people?
I don't think there's nothing wrong with social media is like a massive channel that people learn and educate themselves on. I think the key thing is just to make sure that whatever you are absorbing yourself with, these people online, they have an agenda, right? They're trying to build their profile in the sort of industries or fields that they're working within, and it's just like, ultimately just take everything they say with a bit of a pinch of salt, and make sure that, if you are watching something, like, where, just always question, like, where is this person getting that information from?
Yeah.
Because, the key thing with like publications and the sort of the publishing of scientific research is, it's a very, the process of it is very tightly knit. So, the stuff that's going out there is scientifically accurate. It's written in a certain way that doctors can understand. And I think basically always just make sure that you're checking the data. Like, always look to the data and the stuff that's been published. Like, read around the subject. And I get it, like, these people online, they are doing part of that job for you. They're sort of like, they're doing their own research and they're trying to provide it in a way that's easy and quick for you to understand, but nothing beats doing it for yourself. And I think the whole sort of natural versus man-made medicines, everyone, because of the internet, everyone kind of thinks that they're expert in everything.
Trust me.
And I think the best thing is to actually talk to people who are, doing this as their job day in, day out. If you think you've got a problem, you've got some symptoms or something, go and talk to your doctor about it. Go to your local GP, who's about probably a 15-20 minute walk from you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they're the guys that, should be, part of their job is, their job is to stay up to date with the latest research. They'll be going to congresses, what society meetings in London or abroad, to keep up to date with, whatever their specialism is. Mm-hmm. They'll have pharmaceutical people talking to them. They'll be they should be the channel that you're getting your, getting the information you need in order to make the decisions you should be having about your own health.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't have much. I mean, I've worked on some natural medicine brands in the past. Mm-hmm. So I was working, one of my accounts in the past with a German pharmaceutical company called Heal. Been around like 30 years. They did all sorts of like natural medicines, and I think there's nothing wrong with trying them out. Sometimes they do work better. It depends on what it is it's treating, but they can certainly have some effects. And like, even if it has no effect, even just the placebo effect of you thinking it's going to make you better can obviously sometimes make you better. So and that's been shown in lots of clinical trials and studies. So give them a try. I'd say, like, in general, natural medicines their efficacy tends to tail off over time. They don't tend to be as long-lived and have as much longevity as well-studied, drugs that have gone through clinical trials, that have had, real-world evidence studies done about them. I think there's nothing, there's a time and a place for natural medicine, and there's a time and place for when you need, prescribed drugs that have been proven and shown to work. And I think the whole thing with natural medicine is not just, medicines and drugs, it's also, it's just like lifestyle type factors, drinking less, drinking more, lots of water, eating well, and I think all of those sort of life, exercising and all of those things can also have like a huge beneficial impact in the way that you feel about yourself on a day-to-day basis, the way that you might be living with a disease. I think it's a combination of things, but ultimately the best thing you can do is talk to the experts and talk to your GP about it if you think you have a problem with something.
Yeah, and I believe, obviously, like, everybody's different, people heal in different ways. All of us have got different, maybe traumas, different issues, etc., etc. Like, do you think, yeah, the government or however people want to call it, do you think psychedelics, yeah? Do you think magic mushrooms, all of these, psychedelics basically, do you think they should be made a little bit more accessible? More people should be basically like educating more people about them in terms of like, maybe like taking them because obviously I speak to so many different people of camera
Mm.
and a lot of people obviously they tell me their different testimonies, they're different after they've taken them and all of these
Mm.
things and for me I would like to think like all of us we heal in different ways maybe you get me
Mm.
like some of like I might need maybe to go on the magic mushroom trip or I might need to do this in order for me to heal whatever I've got going on and obviously for you might need something else
Yeah.
so just talking about psychedelics yeah obviously one what are your thoughts on psychedelics just in general magic mushrooms all of these
Yeah.
things the todd I don't know if you've heard about it and do you think it should be introduced more to society in terms of educating people more and so that maybe people can be open to taking it in terms of like healing and experiencing it as well if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, psychedelics, I think it definitely has a therapeutic usage in various sort of mental health diseases.
Yeah.
People have like PTSD, they've definitely been studies done where, they take, ketamine, like which is a dissociative, or they'll take sort of psychedelics of various forms, whether they be mushrooms or other types of psychedelics. And they have been able to heal as a result of being able to look inwardly, to be able to deal with the baggage or the experiences they've gone through when they were younger, or in more recent times. So yeah, I think there's certainly a place for it. My own experiences of psychedelics, I think they're great. I've tried all sorts of things over time. But I think for me, I like it because for me it's quite spiritual.
Yeah.
I'll tend to do it, maybe once, twice a year, and I always, come out of it with sort of almost like a bit of clarity, or a bit more, I guess. I'll feel more clear in what I need to do. It's a hard thing to explain tangibly, but for me, yeah, certainly it's very spiritual. It's very healing, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the world in a different way. Maybe it's the way we should all be able to see things, but it's a beautiful thing, and like I think most people who've tried these things will tell you it's you always come out of it the other side with a different kind of perspective on the world or the life or in the way you think. So my key takeaway I guess is give it a go, start small, low titrations, and just see how you feel about it and do it in a controlled environment at least to begin with.
When we talk about you said obviously one of your favorite things in this world is science, if I'm correct, yeah? Mm-hmm. Like you said you love science, yeah? Mm-hmm. Like obviously during this conversation, to be fair, we could even just have one full conversation about just science alone in it because there's so many different aspects, so many different, so many different places you can go with science, the topic of science. Mm-hmm. Like just in general, before I ask my last few questions, yeah, like what do you love most about science? What is it about science that Joe loves? Like what do you love about science?
I think one of the things about science is that it's all around us, and everything from the way that I don't know. I mean, I just think that it can explain a lot of the things that happen in the world and the way that we experience the world, and I just love that it's an ever growing field as well. Like they're always like every pharmaceutical company is or just in general more like life sciences companies, they're always like researching to try and help, I guess, meet sort of unmet needs in the world, or to try and find, researching things to try and find a way of providing solutions to people in a way that they may not have had before, and it can change the way that the world operates. And I think it's just a beautiful thing. It's there's always something new to learn as well. I think it's like comes back to what I was saying over the music thing. It's like it tends to suit people who have this kind of like growth mindset of like, you know, there is no end to the studying. It's like if you wanna, you can go as deep into it or as light into something as you wish, and you know, it's up to you and what you want to learn more about. And I think that's kind of like the similarity and the beauty of like science and music, I guess.
It's a never ending process, and it's like you're always finding out more information, new things.
Yeah, it's like understanding the unknown, you know.
Exactly.
And you know, the more we can do that, the more we'll be able to provide solutions into the world that can really make a huge difference in the way that people live. So hats off to science.
Yeah, even on a quick one, do you feel like human beings in general, sometimes, especially obviously researchers, scientists, do you feel like sometimes human beings are too curious, or you can never be too curious?
I think it's just the way our brains are wired, to be honest. I think we all have various thoughts and, you know, things that we want to understand, and you know, I think curiosity is like probably one of the best things about the human condition, you know.
100%.
It's like, you know, because we all want to, you know, be the best versions of ourselves and be able to solve problems in the best way possible. And I think, you know, discovering the unknown is you know, it's the reason the world is the way it is today. Otherwise we'd all be just monkeys, just like roaming around on very desert plains, just like living in little, you know, I don't know, the world wouldn't have evolved the way that it has without science. So, and that having, and people, and scientists and pioneers who kind of led the way in the different, in various fields. So, you know, it's, you can never be too curious, always be hungry and never stop searching.
Yeah.